Cake decorating is one of the sugar arts that uses icing or frosting and other edible decorative elements to make plain cakes more visually interesting. CAMEO delves into tasty cake decor this week. Mother and daughter duo, Yvette and Allison Balfour, own and operate Sweet Mischief Jamaica.
I'm Yvette Balfour. I'm one of the owners of Sweet Mischief Jamaica Limited. Our business started about 6 years ago. It really started with baking my nephew's wedding cake. You know, he wanted something special. You know, he knew that myself and my sister Annette, who had started business with, could bake. So, you know, we said, okay, we'll do his wedding cake. And we did that, and everybody really loved the cake, you know. And after that, our first official job was making a medical cake. My niece, she had just graduated med school, so we did scrubs, and it had the pills, the syringes, everything on it, you know. And after that, business kind of took off. Sweet Mischief Jamaica, we do novelty cakes, cakes for all occasions, from birth, anniversary, bridal showers, weddings, you name it, we do it, you know. We do corporate type cakes, cupcakes, some pastries, like where we do cheesecakes, and so, you know. Sweet Mischief has been around for about 5 or 6 years. You know, the name came about from reading actually a book. And the name of the chocolatier in the book was Sweet Mischief. So I thought, boy, that's a nice name for a business. So that's how the name Sweet Mischief Jamaica came about. Our process starts basically with client contact. They decide, you know, what they want, what design they want. Sometimes they might come with their own design. Sometimes they will come in with an idea. You know, for example, they want like a movie theme cake. They don't have a picture of what they want, but they're able to convey to us exactly what they want to see in their design. After it's agreed on the design, the size, because our cakes are designed based on your need. We don't want to give you too big or too small a cake, so it's created and designed based on what you need. The flavor is decided on also, because we have several flavors. Cakes are baked, they're cooled overnight, because cakes freshly baked cannot be dealt with. They cannot be frosted, they cannot be fondant covered. So they're left to cool overnight, and then first step is shaping your cake, then crumb coating. Now, crumb coating is basically just a thin layer of frosting applied to the cake. Then return to the refrigerator to set again, to cool. When it comes out, it is frosted, refrigerated again, and then we start the process of fondant covering. Once the cake is fondant covered, then we can begin to apply designs, whether it be stencils, cutouts, edible sheets. It's applied at that time. Now, if your cake demands a 3-dimensional topper, that is usually made at least 4 days in advance. Whether it be baby shoes, giraffes, whatever, it's done beforehand. So that is the final stage where you apply your topper, your greetings, and then it's boxed and ready to go.
At Sweet Mischief, I'm pretty much the creative aspect of it. I deal with the customers as well as I do the administrative part. So I will deal with the finances, I deal with marketing, I deal with social media, customer relation management. Knowing your family, I mean, their family, they're always going to be there, so it helps with the relationship, working together. There's a synergy between us that it's hard to develop, and it's something that's been building over the years. So working with my mom and with close friends, it makes the job easier. It takes a certain passion for cakes, for creativity, for you to be able to materialize what someone is envisioning, because persons come in and they don't necessarily know what they want, and for us to be able to create a cake that fits their event, that fits their personalities or the personality of the person that they're giving the cake to. So I mean, that in itself, you have to have some level of creativity, or it's gonna be just a cookie cutter business that you're just putting out gift box cakes and it's just nothing really. It's something that everybody sees all the time. I think you should find your niche in the market. Novelty cakes, they would really enhance an event. It goes outside of just doing a regular sheet cake. You're capitalizing on various events, various milestones. So, I mean, a group of people gathered is just a meeting. Once you have a cake, it's a party. We're able to capitalize on each event, each milestone. You have birthdays, anniversaries. We did the ATL cake recently, which was a Hollywood themed cake. So I mean, various events you can use cake to celebrate it. Well, when I started cakes, I mean, there wasn't anywhere out there that offered formal training, specialized training for novelty cakes. What we did was we had to take to the internet. We watched a lot of videos, did a lot of research, and pretty much it was just trial and error. Just trial and error. We had mistakes along the way, and we had to just turn to the internet and Google, oh, how do I fix this? How do I fix that? Even some of the cakes that you see on the internet or stuff, they don't work in Jamaica. We have heat, which is the worst. So I mean, you had to find ways to work with it. Capital is always an issue out here. Getting capital is one of the biggest issues with small businesses. So I mean, we were self-funded, so pretty much we had to just put some money aside and plan properly when it is we needed to buy big equipment, big items. So I mean, that in itself, and getting a loan without any form of collateral, for me, it didn't happen. It didn't happen. I didn't have a car, I don't have a house, nothing. So that in itself is a big challenge. But clients we get from word of mouth and through social media, so Facebook and Instagram. That's really where I get 3/4 of my customers, and word of mouth. So moving forward, I would definitely capitalize more on wider marketing. In the future, Sweet Mischief would be offering the full event package. So we want to do from start to finish, not just the cakes and the pastries. We're going to be offering the event planning aspect. So we deal with the caterers, decorators, find the venues, everything. So it's really a easy process, one-stop place, Sweet Mischief.
Camille Flim of Cake Couture Jamaica has been a sugar artist for 4 years. She talks to us about her business.
Type of cakes that I make are, of course, custom cakes. They're sculpted for the most part. I do offer desserts for dessert stations. We do cupcakes, baby shower cakes. Pretty much the sky's the limit. If there's anything that you can conceive in cake, I can make it for you. I've been a sugar artist for about 4 years now. I kind of stumbled upon it. I have 4 kids and I have parties for them all the time. So I decided I didn't want the conventional square or round cake as much as we love our favorite pastry place. So what I decided to do was I tried to make it. Based on that and having all those parties, the parents that came fell in love with the cakes that I did, and it was from there that my business was born. I have no formal training. It's really just about trying to figure it out for the most part, and it has been a wonderful experience so far. Start to finish, what you'd have to do is you speak to your client first. Once you speak to your client, you have an idea as to what the event is. You have birthdays, weddings, any of those occasions. From there, we determine the size of cake that for serving purposes or just for display. And then a lot of research goes into it. Normally, I'm provided with a picture or an image, be it an invitation or another cake that they found online. But I prefer to have the bespoke element into it. I prefer if I could make something specially for them. So I ask them to send me multiple images, let me know what it is that they like from each image, and then from there, we create something specially for them. I am a painter, I am a cake decorator, I am a sculptor, all in one. I do all those things. It's just the medium that's different. So when you buy a piece of art that's painted on a wall, I paint on a cake. So it is very creative in that respect. And then, of course, it is, of course, envisioning what the client wants, and from there, creating a masterpiece. This can definitely be monetized because it's safe to say that every day of the year is a birthday. And so I have the potential to make money 365 days of the year. People get married, their anniversaries, there's always something special, and you just can't have an event without cake. Jamaica, the weather is probably our #1 culprit. If it's too rainy, you find that melts. If it's too hot, you find that cracks. So that has been, for the most part, the most difficult challenge, along with the lack of resources here. People go online and they see all these beautiful cakes. They don't realize that a lot of the products that are used to make these cakes are not available here. So I'd have to say those are the two biggest challenges. And I'd say the third one would be, well, the price factor. Most people don't want to pay for this kind of art. It really does take a special occasion, which I understand, because it's kind of hard to spend a particular money on something that you're going to consume. But you have to bear in mind that it's art nonetheless. Other challenge I can speak of is the diversity in pricing. You know, I'm thinking that a lot of persons out there don't understand what work that is entailed, and they tend to not charge accordingly. So when you have one person charging $50 and the other person charging $10, you know, sometimes people can't afford the creativity aspect, and they just have to go for what they can afford. So if we try and keep it a little more standardized, I really think that it would be better for cake decorators in general. To address those challenges, I would say people need to sit down and work their costings out. Most people charge based on materials, and they don't charge for their labor. They don't charge for what they do themselves, and they need to understand that their time is money, and it's a valuable asset. Or we need to start having specialized areas, establishments that would cater especially for cakes. I've been made to understand that we have about 409 cake decorators island-wide. Yes, so it's a pretty big thing, you know. There are actually schools that teach it. You know, you have courses at UTech, you have courses at Hart. So I think more persons have grown to love and have had a passion for this. You know, I'm so blessed because my passion wasn't as a child. I didn't dream to become something like this. It's becoming an adult and seeing what it is that I can actually do that has driven me. And I can say I'm obsessed with cake. Inevitably, what I'd love to do is to have a storefront so that persons can come in, sit, eat, relax, enjoy. And I'd also love to start teaching. That's my passion right now, to teach other persons, you know, specialized flowers or just basic decorative elements as well.
Leanne Morrison of Leanne's Sweet Tooth specializes in designer cakes and pastries.
Well, originally I started out doing sciences because at Immaculate it was either business or science for me in my head. Then I realized I hated that, so I went to UTech and did a certificate in pastry making and cake decorating. After that I really liked it and I got that with merit, and then I decided to do the degree in culinary arts and management, so I just completed that. People always have a concept of what they want, but they're not always sure of how exactly it will look. So they'll see like different cakes out there, like on Pinterest or Google, and they'll have like 4 or 5 ideas and be like, I like this, but I don't like one specific cake out of all 5 of them. So what I'll do, I'll be like, okay, tell me what exactly you like from each of them, and then I'll put it together, draw it up, and show them, and then they'll be like, oh, that's what I had in mind, or can you tweak that? So it's creative in a sense where people have the opportunity to get exactly what they want, and I can mold it for them. And once you're doing the process also, like, they'll be like, oh, I want that. But then you'll be doing it and you'll see, oh, I could use that, or you could add like a bit of pink there or something. So I think it's creative in that sense where you can just do whatever you want with it. I do everything from scratch. So it's creaming the butter and sugar, putting everything together, baking it. Then what I do is freeze the cake so that it's sturdier, but I don't make a tough cake. My cakes are light and fluffy, so working with them just at room temperature, it can break or come apart. So I freeze them so it's sturdier, put together. It's a lot of freezing and icing, and then depending on if it's just an icing cake like this one, or if it's covered in fondant or whatever, then icing it would just continue from the frosting, but the buttercream has to be completely smooth, and then fondant, and then do all the decorations. But because there's so many different types of cakes, like simple ones like this, or elaborate wedding cakes that have cascading flowers coming down, I mean, the process could be a day to up to 2 weeks, depending on what it is. I feel like you can't put a value on creativity per se. It's what you monetize is your time, the time it takes to do this or do the elaborate wedding cake with cascading flowers. But creativity is not something that you can be like, that's gonna cost X, because I'll be doing a cake and I'll tell you, okay, this will be X amount of money, but I'm doing it and I see that there's a need to add maybe a piece there or an extra flower, but I would never be like to the client, oh, it's gonna be $500 more because I added an extra flower. I just saw the need, and I mean, it's gonna make it look better. Having specialty items here, like whether it be tools or ingredients, like say for macarons, the French macarons, the little things that you sandwich, they use almond flour, which isn't common to here. You have to import that, and it's quite expensive. So what would cost, say, $1 in the States or euro in France or whatever, would be way more here because we have to include the import cost. So you'll find that more specialty cakes and more elaborate cakes are going to cost more for people here, and then they're going to be like, oh, but when I was away, it wasn't that expensive. It's too expensive here, but you can't really control that. Like, it's just the fact of the matter that we're a third world country and this is what's available to us. So the biggest issue would be that things are going to cost more because we have to keep importing things. I think maybe one of the biggest issues with clients is that they're going to always compare a custom cake person like myself to like a Sugar and Spice or a Price Mart, where they're getting a cheesecake for, I don't know how much you get it for, like $1,000. That's because they're using bulk mixes and it's, I mean, a wide margin of things. So they're more like less profit, bigger sale. Whereas, I mean, I use all true ingredients. I don't use mixes or like cake mixes. Everything is done from scratch. So there's that kind of time, and then there's that quality. I use butter. I don't use shortening in my cakes. So there's that issue. They're not aware of like how much you put into the cake for it to be like this. And you really can't compare it. Like if you taste my cake compared to a Price Mart cake, You definitely taste that one's from a mix and one's using regular ingredients, normal ingredients. You just have to stand your ground and maybe educate people like, I mean, okay, well, try it. See the difference. Look at the quality of things. Look at my cheesecake compared to a Price Mart cheesecake. You're not getting jam on top. You're getting fresh fruits or freshly made toppings. You put in long hours on your feet doing sometimes tiny little decorations that break, and then you're like, no, don't break. Or you're assembling a cake and it tips and it drops, and so you have to love it because it's nerve-wracking, it's hard work, it's patience dealing with people, dealing with the actual frostings, and in a country that's so hot and sometimes you have to do some weird things to keep it together. You have to love it because it wears you down, and if you don't love something and it wears you down, you're just going to give up, and it's just going to show in your work and everything's going to be off. An accountant, so she helps me with like my accounts and like saying, okay, well, you can do this. If you want to go into this baking expo, you can spend X amount of money before you're going to run out, or you can allot this for this year for marketing. And so she controls the business side of it so that I know where I can put my efforts into different places, like whether it be shows or just doing samples randomly or things like that. My future goal or my plan always is to never be in the same place for more than a specific amount of time. So I always want to just keep learning, keep traveling, going to different places, learning from different people, and gaining as much knowledge and experience as I can. But maybe my sturdy goal, like when I'm ready to just sit one place and be an actual person, I obviously want like my own bake shop or cake place or cafe or cafes.
And that's it this week for CAMEO. Even in the midst of our challenges, our creative industries continue to shine. I've been your host, Amita Prasad Webb.